Is the X-Half a good substitute to the expensive film? Let's find out. As a Fujifilm user and a film shooter, when I first got this camera, I do feel like it is very reminiscent to a half-frame film camera back in the olden days. It is a very stripped back design with a film lever and very minimalistic and very lightweight. So this camera weighs only 240 grams. It has a 1-inch vertical sensor. The ratio is 3:4. It has a 17 megapixel sensor and a fixed prime lens equivalent to 32mm and f2.8. It's its maximum aperture. As for the image quality, it is a 1-inch sensor after all, so you're gonna see some limitations when it comes to low light, but compared to any other 1-inch sensor counterparts, I do feel like it has similar performance in daytime, which is more than enough for me. As a Fujifilm camera, of course, the color science and the white balance is going to be amazing. It doesn't have all the film simulations Fujifilm offer, but it does have the 13 that are most popular, like your Reala A's, your CC, your NC, your Provia, Velvius Acros, and I do feel like that's more than enough for my type of shooting. Keep in mind that a lot of these film simulations, you can't find the actual film on the market anymore, like Reala Ace or Pro 400 or Provia for that matter, even though they still make it, I guess. Fujifilm, bring it back. So if you still want that Reala look, that's pretty much the only way you can do it. Apart from the film simulations, which you can get from other Fujifilm cameras, it does have 12 filter looks, like creative filters. I do find the halation effect looks very similar to a Cinestill 800T or 400D, and their light leak feature is also quite interesting because every shot you take will come with a different light leak pattern, so that creates a bit of uncertainty like what you would get when you're using film. Another filter in there I find also quite interesting would be the expired film look. They do come in 3 different varieties, being the red, the green, and then the neutral one. I do know a lot of film users like to purchase expired film to create that kind of washed out look. But with this camera, you don't have to worry about if the seller is putting the film in the fridge or not. As the name implies, it is a half-frame camera, so the aspect ratio is going to be a vertical 3:4. I do find that very convenient in the social media nowadays because when you take a photo, it is vertical by default. As for the limitations in terms of image quality, this camera does not take RAW, so you have 3 JPEG sizes you can choose from, and that's about it. One thing I do really like about this camera is the film mode. So the film mode basically is like a dedicated mode where you pick one film simulation and then you pick how many frames you want to take. You can do 36, 54, and 72. And you basically just shoot in that mode without changing the film simulations or without looking at the images. Of course, you can choose between autofocus and manual focus. You can choose with or without timestamps, and you can do auto exposure or aperture priority. In this mode, I do find it's a very immersive shooting experience because when I'm using a digital camera, I often tend to spend too much time looking at the images that I took. But when I'm using a film camera, I took a photo and I focus on what I'm experiencing right now, and I don't really think about what I took. Using this camera, it basically provides a similar experience without having to think about, am I wasting money on this shot with film prices and developing prices. I do enjoy using this mode quite a lot, but there's one thing I wish they have in this mode would be the way they design it is that after you press a shutter, you have to pull the lever before you take another one. But I think it would be way cooler if I didn't pull the lever, it's gonna be double exposure. And I think that would be really cool and even closer to an actual film camera. For those of you who doesn't really enjoy the idea of sticking to one film look for 36 shots, you can exit the film mode halfway. So after you're done with the whole roll of film, you develop it using the app. It will basically create like an overview UI that sort of looks like a 35mm slide that you would take on a actual film camera. It shows you an overview of all the photos you take. I do feel like that's a cool UI design and that would be a cool way to showcase the photos that you take. For those of you who are worried that you might not be able to stick to one film simulations for 36 shots or more, you can definitely quit halfway, but keep in mind that after you quit halfway, that overview look is not going to be a full slide. As a very basic camera, the aperture selection is also quite limited. Even though its fastest aperture is 2.8, there's not a lot of stops in between. The way you choose the aperture is by the aperture ring, but basically it only lets you flip through 2.8, 4, 5.6, 8, and 11. I would really appreciate it if there's more of a half stop between, say, like 2.8 and f4. But now a quick word about video.
Just give me the little thing.
Okay. All right, so we did actually shoot some video with this camera, but I will say from the get-go, it's not really a video camera. It does have some video capabilities, but this is very much a photo camera. So what you're working with here is a full HD, 24 frames per second. It does have a slow option that can go up to 48 frames per second, so it's nothing too incredibly crazy. One thing that I will say that makes this camera unique from a majority of other cameras as far as video is concerned is that you can actually record film simulations while the video is running. So if you want to know what a video might look like with Novia film, you do have that option inside this camera. It's a very unique, if not gimmicky in some situations, but you know, it is an option to have. So a lot of other cameras can't do that. This camera can. And I will say that the video quality isn't very good in low light. You do want to sort of make use of that LED light on the front. The LED light does double up as a flash, but when you switch to video mode, that flash does become a continuous light. So that will help you out in certain situations. But again, I'm not going to say this is very much a video camera. This is much more of a photo camera. And look, I'm already sitting here, so we'll just quickly talk about the audio. So the audio also isn't anything too special. You have two little mics on top of the camera, which I do find personally do clip quite easily. But to be fair, I do a lot of video at Vivid with a lot of loud music, so the audio does clip naturally. But again, I'm not someone that recommends using the audio in cameras anyway. It's a bit average. As for the hot shoe, it's not a hot shoe, it's a cold shoe, so it's very analog. It's just a square space to slot things into. And there's unfortunately no microphone or earphone port in this camera. You do actually have to connect a jack port via the USB-C port. In this camera, you do get yourself a jack port to USB-C adapter that you plug into the side. So that's a bit finicky, so you are a bit limited as far as audio goes with this camera, but you can still record external audio, just so long as you don't lose that little piece that comes with the Fuji X-Half. But yeah, audio is so-so, it's nothing too crazy, but I don't really care about audio in cameras anyway. Anyway, moving on.
As for stabilization, this camera does not have IBIS, unfortunately, but because of its small design, it is just 240 grams. It is more for quick snaps and one-hand operation. Also, because it is a leaf shutter, so the vibration from the shutter is very minimal. From my personal experience, I don't really think it's a deal breaker for me. The lack of IBIS didn't really affect my shooting at all because I'm just one-handed doing quick snaps and just walking around with it, and I still get pretty decent images. As a very basic camera, the autofocus system is also kind of basic. It only has 9 focusing points and it's a contrast-based autofocus, so it's not going to be the fastest. Fortunately, it does have face detection, so it can detect your eye, left eye or right eye. Another thing worth mentioning would be the manual focus in here. If you're in the film mode, the manual focus is quite handy. You can basically drop down the aperture and just do it by the distance. You can also use focus peaking in the normal mode, so I do find that quite handy. So when I first got this camera, I am amazed by the size and the weight of this camera. It is so small. It is probably one of the smallest cameras they have launched in recent years. But it does feel a little bit plasticky, I have to say that, but I guess that's also a way to keep it lightweight. I do feel like it is pleasing in terms of its design. It also has 3 colors, the black, the silver, and then the charcoal silver. I had the silver one. I do find it quite beautiful. The buttons and controls on this camera is very basic. Basically, you just get 2 touchscreen monitors, you get a flip between photos and video, and then you get a flip of flash and no flash, and then the shutter button, and that's basically it. And you get like a separate lever. The lever basically works as a normal film lever when you're in film mode, but if you're in normal mode, if you press it down, it shows you the latest image you took. If you pull it, it basically turns up its split frame feature. And for the split frame, you can choose 2 photos together, or you can choose 2 videos, or you can choose 1 video, 1 photo. When I first get this camera, I do feel like the menu system is quite different from other Fujifilm cameras and could take a bit of a learning curve, but basically you just do it by scrolling from 4 different sides of the main screen, and then you flip through the little screen to go through the different features in the menu. This camera is equipped with an optical viewfinder. The viewfinder is very basic. It doesn't have any framing guidelines. It only has a little LED on the side that shows you the exposure. Do keep this in mind when you're using film mode. Because it doesn't have any framing guidelines, what you see in the viewfinder is most likely going to be different from what you actually shoot. And another thing that I wish they could have done differently would be the flash. So I do know they want to put an LED there so you can use it when you're shooting video, but because it's just one LED, the flash isn't very strong. So basically you can see an image here I took like midday, and my dogs are facing away from the sun, and then the flash is just not strong enough to overpower the sunlight. I do get the whole design of keeping it as a video light, but at least put a hot shoe there so I can put an external flash, but I can't really do that with this one, and I can't even cable sync it, and that's a bit of a letdown for me. I am very pleased with the battery life on this camera because unlike any other 1-inch camera on the market, it is using a bigger battery. So it's the same battery as an X106 or a XT50, so they're APS-C models. From my experience, I was shooting this camera for half a day. I took roughly 300 photos, and the battery is not even halfway through. Even if you're fully drained on battery, you can always use your power bank to plug it in through the USB-C port, and you can even shoot while charging. Keep in mind that this camera uses a different app from other Fujifilm cameras. It has a dedicated X-Half app. That's where you develop the photos you take in the film mode, and that's where you connect this camera to a Instax printer. I do find that quite interesting because you can just take this camera around, take better images that you can get from a normal Instax camera, and then print it out and share it. If I'm being completely honest, I feel like the price is a little bit higher than what I expected. After all, it's not really a glass lens camera, but I do think it's an interesting camera to have for its price range. It is certainly different from any other cameras around the price range. From my conversations with my friends that also shoot film, I do feel like a lot of film users would be interested in this camera, especially with the current film prices. This is good if you want to get that film-like experience for everyday shots without having to worry about cost. And another group of people I think this would be good for is for people that are looking for an easy to carry around camera, and they like to print out the photos on the spot, and they like to share the images, but they're not really happy with the controls you get from a normal Instax cameras. So what do you think about this X-Half camera? Let us know in the comment section below.